Thank you very much, Mark, for joining the show. He is the owner of Red Square. He created this extremely low-carb bread that has even saved lives, 7 lives and counting. It's really remarkable. Mark, thank you very much for joining the show.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mark Tsemak, the owner of Red Square Bakery, which has been in operation 30 years now. We opened in 1990, making authentic Russian food goods like piroshki, mini pierogis, some Russian breads, Jewish challahs, etc. And in 2000, we had to change drastically and add a few healing food items to our menu or to production line due to some unforeseen circumstances that happened in the family. My mom suffered with a tremendous stroke in year 2000, 1 year ago. She was administered to Lionsgate Hospital. My sister called me and said, Mark, please get to the hospital. Mom is in trouble. When I got to the hospital, I asked the doctor if he can, what happened. He said, your mom had a tremendous stroke, too much high blood pressure. And basically she was paralyzed on the left side. So that means the right side of the brain had a clot in the capillary. So I asked the doctor, what can you inject her to clear the clot? And he told me that, Mark, you're lucky she's alive. And when he used the word lucky, that insulted me. And I went home and I started reading up about nutrition, about flax and etc. A few years ago, I noticed that I was using ground flax in one of my multigrain breads. And a lot of people were buying 4 or 5 loaves and coming back for more and telling me, Mark, I'm losing weight. And I said, well, that's a lot of carbs. But the one ingredient that jumped at me was the meal flax that I was using about 10-15% per volume. And then I started reading more about flax, the components that it's got that are maybe beneficial to improvement of human health. And what came out that flax has more omega-3 than salmon, than any other plants or seeds. It has soluble and insoluble fiber, plant-based protein of 20%. So then I started thinking, what if I was using flax, abandoning sugars, abandoning white flour or carbohydrates, and making a baking mix out of which I can make buns, breads, and everything else, and I would basically with the lowest carbohydrate readout. So I'd experimented, made a few small batches. I remember making first loaf of 2 kilo in weight, pushing it through my tunnel oven, baking one. And one of the customers who came in, and he was already on low carb diet, he asked me about the bread, what it is like. And I told him, well, it's a very low carb flax bread. And he said, well, I'll buy it. I said, it's an experiment. It was just a big lump. It didn't rise well. It didn't look good. So he said, how much? Well, I said, I guess $21. He bought it. It was an expensive price for that, but it was an experiment of 1 week long. A few days later, he came back. He said, Mark, the bread is fantastic. My colon is happy. I feel great. It's got such great flavor. And I want to buy another one. I said, well, I haven't made any. That was an experiment. He said, no. Don't tell me it's an experiment. Go back and start making it. So I started making it. I put my mom on it. I put myself on it. And about 7 months later, after using this bread in my regimen, cutting out the white and the whole wheat breads, basically a low carb regimen, loaded with fiber and omega-3. My weight dropped by 57 pounds, and my mom started using it, my dad, and everybody in the family. So a year later, my mom regained somewhat, a little bit more motor skills on the arm and the leg. And a few years later, she started walking. So she was no longer in a wheelchair. And now she's driving and swimming and walking what you and I can do. So I'm the richest man today on the planet. The person that gave me life is enjoying her life. So that's how Powerflax blend baking mix was created out of necessity to save a life. and to give quality to that life to my mom. Then a week after my mom suffered with a stroke, there was another episode, another person who was addressed by his physician, Dr. Chaim Fox in Coquitlam, who told him after his stroke, his arm was had no movement. He had a milder stroke, and he was walking down the sidewalk approaching my warehouse, and when I looked at him, I knew that he had a stroke because the left arm was just hanging without any movement. So I asked him what happened. He said, "Oh, I had a stroke, and Dr. Chaim Fox recommended your food, your flax products, that I should start using them." And then he started speaking to me in Russian, and he was born in Canada, in New Westminster here. And I was without any accent. So I said, "Well, this is an incredible Russian you have." "Oh," he said, "I speak other languages." I said, "Well, I lived in Lithuania. Kalba Lietuviškai." He says, "Yeah, tvarkoj." And he started speaking Lithuanian. I said, "Well, what other languages you say?" "Well, yeah." He said, "I speak 46. So I thought he was pulling my leg. So in order to check this guy out, I said, "Would you mind coming into my warehouse and meeting my baking crew that speaks Mandarin and Cantonese dialect?" So he started speaking to them fluently in Mandarin and Cantonese. It was astonishing. Then I said, "Well, I lived in Asian part of Russia. Do you speak Uzbeki or Kyrgyz language?" And he started speaking those. I said, "Why would you ever learn those languages? What was the need? Are you a spy?" He kept quiet. He didn't say anything. He spoke 46 languages. And in about a few months after he was coming for my cereal, for my bread, his arm regained movement. So actually, he had a milder stroke, and he regained completely the movement of that arm. So that was another episode. Then, of course, I was starting to develop more recipes, more products like muffins, waffles, crackers out of Powerflax mix. It's just one mix, 20-kilo bag with a beautiful golden label. And we shipped this mix to 2 bakeries in Brooklyn, Healthy Joy Bakes, to Isaac Sander, who actually bakes low carbohydrate, ketogenic breads and buns for Jewish community, or for people who are diabetic, or people who are obese and want to drop a few pounds. Also, we supply this baking mix to 8 obesity clinics in Toronto run by cardiologist Dr. Poon, who puts all his clients on bread products made by us, Powerflax. And they all lose weight, they all get better health, better immune system. The mix really works well on people with autoimmune system disorders like Crohn's colitis, diverticulitis, diabetes, cancer. There are 100 autoimmune system disorders in the world. Some of them we can't even pronounce. And basically, your own antibodies attack your healthy cells. And what we found out, if people start using products made out of Powerflax, which looks, this is the mix, and this is the bread, this is the happy colon cookies. What happens with their digestive system, they start taking in about 50 to 100 grams of dietary fiber, soluble and insoluble, and a lot of omega-3 fatty acids that flax actually has. And they start feeling better. So we fix their digestive system, all their villi in the intestine are pervious, so they begin reverse osmosis. All the toxin from the blood can leach out into the colon. And if the colon is clean, then whatever you ingest and all the vitamins and the nutrients and omega-3 and soluble fiber can be absorbed into the bloodstream, thus delivering anti-inflammatory components and building the immune system to where it should be. We found out that a few people suffering with different phases of cancer recovered from cancer, going on ketogenic Powerflax regimen. So they cut out the sugars because cancer cells' food is sugars and they like carbohydrates. So the best way to deal with cancers is don't feed them. They're like tenants living in your high-rise in your body, not paying your rent. So we say eviction notice, get rid of them, or reduce the population. And this is what Powerflax has been doing quite successfully. Known to us, this is not, we're not here to say it cures cancers. No, by any means. If somebody is going through radiation or chemotherapy, please go ahead and do it, whatever the doctor tells you. But what it does, it just produces the body or forces the body to go into ketosis, thus creating more nutrient intake into the bloodstream that comes from Powerflax when it's broken down by your enzymes in your colon. And that's giving you a little bit more fighting power to fight the radicals that live in your body. So known to us, one person had liver cancer, and tumors part of the cancer, liver was removed, and he's alive today, 8 years later. Breast cancer survivor, used our products, and she's doing great. Then we had prostate, colon as well. They're doing great. So what I found out with flax, it's an interesting seed. It's got components that there's no other seed or food has or be compared to. For example, for instance, omega-3 fatty acids are very precious components that our body doesn't produce. So the richer intake of omega-3 is in your body, the healthier your immune system is going to be. Just to make a little note and comparison, 100 grams of flax has more omega-3 than 1.7 kilo of salmon. Well, that's 4 pounds of salmon. So that's how nuclear and beneficial flax is, just by comparing omega-3 versus fish oil. Also, flax contains two kinds of fiber: soluble, which is absorbed into your bloodstream, that reduces your LDL. It also is a very rich source of lignans. Flaxseed has 900 times more lignans. They're actually phytoestrogens than any other plant on the planet Earth. Also has a lot of insoluble fiber. So the composition of fiber in the flax is the following. Out of 100 grams of cracked flax that we do it here, 28 grams is fiber, 20 grams is protein, and about 40% of omega-3 by weight. That is astonishing nutritional breakdown of a smaller seed that is 5,000 years old, never been genetically modified. It's basically as old as Jewish people are, 5,780 years old. So that's why we're supposed to probably use flax and make more products, healing products for people out of flax. So we're a very big promoter of flax. We enjoy that farmers in Saskatchewan and Manitoba grow more flax than any other country in the world. And nobody works, no other bakery in the world works with flax better than we do. Understanding the parameters, understanding the micronutrients that flax has, and of course, utilizing our Powerflax baking mix that enables us or any other bakery in the world making anything, any recipe without the use of sugar, white flour, fats, sometimes dairy, or eggs. Lots of our products are vegan and they're keto. That is very hard to achieve because a lot of recipes require, like cookie recipes, to utilize eggs. And some people are allergic to eggs. So what we're trying to see, we look at syndromes that people suffer with or autoimmune system disorders, and we try to make a product line that fits the parameters of what people cannot use. Let's say if a celiac cannot use any protein from wheat, then we make what we call flourless products for them. If people have digestive disorders and constipated, we try to make a product that has more insoluble fiber. If people suffer with hypertension, blood pressure, then we try to give them more fiber insoluble, and more soluble fiber that reduces their LDL, and more omega-3 that actually thins your blood. Sometimes the high blood pressure is due to the viscosity of the blood. If it's a little bit thicker and it's got buildup of LDL cholesterol, the opening in the arteries, veins, and capillaries become smaller, and that's a big danger to get into stroke, as my mom did. So knowing the negatives of the health hazards that people go through, we realize that sometimes by making food that is nutritionally more superior and down to earth, very simple, without any preservatives, gives the body a chance to start defending yourself and to build a higher immune system. And especially people with diabetes, it's a #2 killer in the world after cancer, plus minus, depends who does what statistics. And we realized that the only way we can combat type 1, well, type 1 is harder. Type 2, it's a lifestyle change. Reduce the carbs, reduce the preservatives, increase the fiber, increase drinking of water. We recommend with a little bit of lemon juice. So treat the body as a high rise. You can explode with fat and toxins, or you can implode your structure towards your digestive system canal. And Powerflax does a very great job with that. So type 2 diabetics, because of low carbohydrate readout on the Powerflax, enables the system to go into ketosis. So that's your fat cells through the liver start producing ketones instead of reducing sugars or glucose from carbohydrates that you previously were using. So it changes the system. You start burning energy from fat that you stored, and through reverse osmosis with the help of omega-3 fatty acids that are embedded inside of Powerflax, it enables the body to thin out, reduce the saturated fat stored beneath the skin, and gives you a better cardiovascular system with a little bit thinner blood consistency. So it's easy on the heart, easy when you go for cardiovascular activity for a jog. You find out that your beats per minute of your heart are a little bit less. And omega-3 fatty acids are known to make your tendons more elastic. So for people who enjoy going to the gym, the power doesn't come from your muscle because it's filled just with water. It's your tendons. So the more elastic your tendons are, the less damage you're going to cause during the exercise. And I've tried the system and the regimen on myself. I lost 57 pounds on it, and still keeps me in good shape. I'm 60 years old. I still do 2-3 hours. My record is 8 hours of infrared sauna, drinking water with lemon juice, going for a segment of 20 minutes in the sauna, 2 minutes ice cold shower, basically expansion and contraction of the system of the skin. So the pores open up and then close. So you exfoliate through the skin all your toxins stored in the blood. You drink pure plain water with lemon juice. And the reason why we recommend lemon juice, because it's got vitamin C, it boosts your immune system and helps you to break down the protein that you ingest. It's like ceviche. You take a scallop, put it in lemon, and it breaks down the strands of protein, so it's easy on the digestive system. So nutrition, the lifestyle, making products that are healthier for human beings, that's our specialty. That's what we've been doing for the last 30 years and will continue for many years to come. So our passion needs to be spread out to other bakeries who would like to help their clients to beat diabetes, to beat obesity, to beat sometimes depression, because it comes from the inner body system. If it's filled with toxins, we're not going to be happy upstairs. The brain is just a receiver of a lot of blood going through it. And if there are toxins, you're not going to feel too good. And plus, it changes your hormonal balance as well. So in a nutshell, Our lifestyle with Powerflax enables a person to be a healthier being, a younger being, fight the radicals, get rid of or suspend autoimmune system disorders for taking you down deeper, and gives you a well-balanced lifestyle by comparison to other foods that are filled sometimes with a lot of preservatives, a lot of ingredients that we can't even pronounce, and they're foreign salts that basically clog up the membranes of our cells in the body, and then you don't become pervious to get rid of the toxins.
So are you the only one? I've heard of other breads. Like, have you ever heard of Ezekiel bread and things like that? I'm not as familiar with it as you are. Are any of them comparable to yours, or yours is like strictly the only one really on the market?
No, they're not comparable because I utilize flax as my main component. Other people's breads utilize almond flour or coconut flour with the low glycemic index. They're called low carbohydrate breads, but it doesn't have the built-in omega-3 fatty acids, it doesn't have the soluble fiber, and it doesn't have the lignans that flax is rich in. So no, it's not comparable. And plus, a lot of bakeries do not have the situation like we have. Imagine the factory, but the front of the factory has a little store where people sample the products and pick up all necessary baked goods from us. And we also have a lounge where people come in. It's like a walk-in clinic, no appointment is needed. I'm not a doctor, but they discuss their health issues with me. They trust us because they lay it all on the line saying, Mark, for the last 10 years, I've been eating this. My sugar is up, my blood pressure is up. I'm 75 pounds overweight. What should I do? And we basically sit down, and it's no charge. We just talk about your life as a human being. We try to find out when a customer comes in, our philosophy is the following. It's not to sell any product, not to try upsell. Try to talk to the person with problems. What got that person into that predicament? Next, what are the issues, blood tests, etc. People even show me the blood tests. And we have a lounge where people sit down and just discuss it with me, their lifestyle, their food intake, their likes, dislikes, what they like about food. And if they become diabetic or they are diabetic, we put them basically on Powerflax ketogenic regimen. All the baked goods they get from us, they start drinking water with lemon juice, tea with lemon. It's a very simple routine. They eat vegetables. If they want to eat meat, they eat meat, all organic or no hormone added. And then within a month or 45 days, they change the system. They start losing weight. Their blood becomes of better consistency. Their blood pressure goes down. Their cholesterol goes down. And then a year later, it's a new being. It's just like a new, fresh book with a new story, new future. It's such a good feeling when you save one life, you save the world. And we have many thousands of people already in Canada and United States. But our intention is to help as many people in the world with Powerflax. But Powerflax baking mix is totally different, has a totally different approach to baking than anybody else's.
Work for every single person the same way, or are there any specific group of people that this might not work for?
It works for everybody, except for one group that is celiac. Because
Celiac.
one of the ingredients is with gluten. I have to call it for what CFIA tells me, or FDA. You have to name it in the ingredient list on the label. But wheat gluten is a protein extracted from the wheat. So in my eyes, it's just protein, like pea protein, carrot protein. So the reason that it doesn't settle on D lice, and you see with celiacs, it's the protein that kind of bores the hole in the line of the intestine, right? And it makes holes and punctures holes in the intestine because they're allergic to gluten. But in other people, if you're not celiac percentage of population is only 1. So 99% are not celiacs. They can eat Powerflax and feel great with it. Everyone should be trying to go on Powerflax regimen.
Okay.
because it's good for diabetics, it's good for people with autoimmune system disorders, even people who suffer with asthma or MS, Alzheimer's, because the influx of omega-3 fatty acids is way more superior than salmon. Flax has 20 times more omega-3 per serving than salmon. So 100 grams of cracked flax is equivalent to 1.7 kilo or 4 pounds of salmon you don't have to eat that day. And salmon may have come from contaminated waters. So through reverse osmosis, all that, sorry to say, garbage is inside of the fish cells, the meat, the protein. So, and flax is the cleanest seed. It's over 5,000 years old as Jewish people, 5,780 years old. So we trust flax a lot in Canada. And being Jewish, why not?
Right.
And plus my last name is Tsemak. I abbreviate it from original name is Tsemachovich. And in Lithuania it was even longer, Tsemachovich. That's my grandfather's last name. And then the Rabbi Fagelstock that lost 67 pounds on this Powerflax. He gets a bag every 3 months. He bakes everything, challah and breads at home. Lost 67 pounds on it. Swears by it. And he's the CEO of BCK. And this mix is kosher. And we supply, or have been supplying it, to 2 Jewish bakeries in Brooklyn, Sander Bakery and Healthy Joy Bakes, to Isaac Sander. And he bakes for Jewish community low carbohydrate Powerflax breads. So it's great for diabetics. It's great for people who want to shred a few pounds and to gain a better cardiovascular and digestive systems.
Someone sitting in America and they want to buy your product, how do they do it? Where do they get it?
2 ways. If you believe in democracy, it's very simple. The customer is always right. That's the most famous saying. So I encourage anybody to walk into your favorite bakery, medium size, small size. And based on what we've been doing with Sander and Healthy Joy Bakes bakeries, we ship pallets to them with the recipes which are already posted on the label. So then your bakery will drop it into their mixer, add water, salt, no sugar, water, and give you freshly baked bread right there where you live. That is the fastest, easiest way for all of us to enjoy Powerflax keto baked products. Anybody who orders by pallets or by truckload from us gets all our recipes that I spent countless hours for no charge. And that enables any place to make cinnamon buns with 4 grams of net carbs, bread with 1 gram of net carbs per slice, scones, Louisiana cheese biscuits, waffles, whatever you ever wish to have, and your taste buds are craving, your bakery nearby can do it for you. That's one way. The other way, you can contact Healthy Joy Bakes in Brooklyn and see if the guy is going to give you a few pounds of the mix, and you can take it home.
Yes, that's what I plan on doing. Absolutely amazing interview. I love the fact that you're getting your message out. Is there anything else that you'd like to cover that you feel you haven't?
Well, you know what? Right now, we're going through a very harsh time with coronavirus. I want everybody to pay attention, not necessarily what we just discussed about Powerflax and ketogenic approach. You need to start worrying, is my immune system strong enough to defend this type of virus? And if it's not, what can I do for myself? What type of food should I be eating? And how should I change my lifestyle to make myself healthier, to fight off the radicals, to fight off the viruses? People who already are in the predicament and suffering with autoimmune system disorders, it's a must. They should be using Keto Powerflax as soon as possible because it does work. And you're welcome to go on our website, rsquare.com, read numerous 328 testimonials. Lives have been changed. Lives have been spared. And many of our customers beat cancers, different kind of cancer, different phases of cancers, even liver, colon, prostate, breast, because you don't feed the sugars and carbohydrates to the cancer cells, you starve them. That's the beginning of healing. I'm not saying it cures, but it really, really helps. So that's my wish to humanity, to everybody. We've got to go back to the olden days, living off the land, eating and preparing everything in a natural form before we eat it. I want to spread the word out there. There are many countries that have a very high diabetes rate, and diabetes in United States, almost 100 million people are suffering with type 2. Half of the population with a very high BMI. That means they're obese. I don't usually like to use the word obese because I find it very insulting. So I address to the person that wants to drop weight that you're wearing a fat jacket with layers and you just want to take the layers off. And that's it, just like an onion. Just peel it off. Powerflax allows you to do it effortlessly without the gym. It's not the exercise that is going to help you lose weight. It's the nutrition. It's the high fiber. It's the drinking of water, 8, 10 cups of water. People don't drink enough water. But when you're on a high fiber regimen, flax fiber swells up 8 times its own volume. So you become thirstier. And that's why many of my customers consume water 10 liters a day with a little bit of lemon juice. Acidity is needed. Vitamin C is good for you to boost your immune system. So it really works on everybody. And I think it just in the nearest future, we're going to see Powerflax everywhere. It's just going to be, it's already a brand name here and in North America, but very few people know. It's still a small percentage, unfortunately.
Well, hopefully that's gonna change very soon. Hopefully, start get you into Whole Foods and all these big supermarkets, and then more.
Absolutely, yeah. We're in Whole Foods with our Happy Colon cookies. So right here locally, but they have to start paying attention that a lot of people are diabetics and they need help from their nearby bakeries. They should be baking Powerflax, low glycemic index breads, buns, cinnamon buns, waffles for everybody, and factories. General Mills, Kerry, CSM, Bake Mart. There are a lot of Puratas, Dawn. There are a lot of big corporations that supply a lot of bakeries with ingredients. They should be paying attention, and they're aware of us. They know what we've done. But it's not that we are radical, but we produce the healthiest baked goods for people who suffer with autoimmune system disorders, or for people who look into the future saying, what should I be eating so I don't get sick, so I don't develop autoimmune system disorders? That's where Powerflax gives you that energy. And it's a trademark in the United States and Canada. You get power, which is energy, from eating flax products. It's self-explanatory. It's common sense. And you get more fiber, more omega-3, more protein. It's plant-based. It's vegan. It's kosher. It's a great mix. And on top of it, you get this trademark, Red Square. That's our bakery name. You get a square meal with Red Square products. That makes sense. Another trademark, Happy Colon. Whose colon is happy? It's the one that is not constipated. It's the one that is pervious. It's the one that is breathable and can absorb the nutrients of the food that you ingested. And through reverse osmosis, get rid of the toxins that you stored in your blood. That's Happy Colon. We also have 10 Commandments trademark. You can see it right there on the wall.
Yep.
Can you, Max?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So we have not utilized, but to me, I fought many years with the trademark officers because they were accusing me using a biblical term. And I'm Jewish. I was born that way. I'm very proud of it. So I wanted to utilize 10 Commandments as nutritional, beneficial components that I can put on my future Powerflax bread or bun or cookie as a label. And it was passed. We got it. We own 10 commandments as a food manufacturer for North America. So that's the next generation of food. That when you pick up 10 commandment or Powerflax, you're going to read at the benefits that your body will get by consuming that product. And it's going to be, for example, high protein, high fiber, soluble, insoluble, lignans, omega-3, etc. It has it all.
Really incredible story. The amount of people that you've helped with this product, the fact that you were able to come up with this, and really, you clearly, obviously, aren't passionate about it at all, right? You clearly don't show that. I'm just joking.
Without passion, don't get into the kitchen. Without passion, don't get into the hospital to save a life. Passion is love for humanity, because every human in my life is a book I've never read. I don't need to read bestsellers and pay $40 and everybody stands in the lineup. To me, a life like you or anybody else who walks into my life is a book I've never read. I prefer asking people what they do, why they don't feel good, and how I can help them. I always ask them.
Mark, if we can only get more people like you, this world will be a better place. That's what I can say.
There are many people like you because you're one of them. There are many of good people. It's just sometimes we don't have the right tools or knowledge. Fortunately, 30 years of knowledge in food development. And it all happened because somebody suffered with a stroke. I would not have invented this Powerflax if it wasn't for the stroke of my mom.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, some of the greatest inventions come out of necessity, you know, and
exactly. What a great example I'm holding here. 3M. The glue was not strong enough. Well, it now is a great product. So when there is if you solve problems, people's problems, that's a great product. It's not about baking bread or making smart cars or smartphones. You've got to solve people's problems. That's the whole foundation of anybody's business. You have to have a purpose. Are you helping another person? Are you helping many thousands of people around the world to live a better life? Then go with your passion. That's where the passion comes from. It's a purpose to help other people.
Mark, absolutely amazing. Hopefully we can continue to follow in your ways. This is an absolutely unbelievable interview, and I really, really appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you for your time.
Right now,
yeah, because you can put what we do with flax is nobody's business, right? So this is a t-shirt. You get a square meal with red square, flax you, and the bag. This is how much we dislike viruses, cancers, diabetes, and everything else. That sometimes it's not God's fault. It's actually God is teaching us. Please use your knowledge and power to heal yourself. It's under your feet, and it's right here in my hands. That is the solution. Never quit trying the impossible, because the impossible is possible when we work together.